Well, hello, Morgan.
Hello, Celeste.
I'm Celeste.
And I'm Morgan.
And we are
Hexen Arcane.
We have another wonderful show for you tonight.
We do. What is it, Celeste?
We are showing the Legend of Bigfoot.
Yes. 1975.
5.
She's got it.
So this is not as 70s as some of the 70s films we've seen.
No, it's actually pretty advanced for its day, if you think about it.
It's a totally different style than what I'm used to. It's sort of a mockumentary style before there were mockumentaries.
Yes, and it makes it pretty awesome.
I think this is a great movie. It's really fun, so I'm really excited to show it.
Me too. I enjoyed it. There's a lot of cool things in here. You can see a lot of wildlife. They've got German Shepherds.
Speaking of wildlife, Morgan,
Yeah.
what do you call a lost wildcat? The missing links.
That's clever. I give you that one.
And Morgan, who wears the biggest shoes? Yeti, Abominable Snowman, or Bigfoot?
Bigfoot.
Whoever has the biggest feet.
That could be any one of them. That's up for interpretation. That's an open-ended joke.
It is.
And I can't even laugh. I can't even say, oh my God.
Okay, fine. One more.
One more.
Morgan,
Yes, Celeste.
does the Loch Ness Monster exist?
Yes.
I don't know. Ask Bigfoot.
You ask him.
We're about to ask him.
Yeah, we are.
Because what did we do this week, Morgan?
We went looking for Bigfoot.
And we can't wait to show you how it turned out. So stay tuned through the movie and we'll be showing you with some of our trip.
My name is Ivan Marx. The film you're about to see is authentic. It records the last 10 years, which has changed my life. I stumbled on something that I could not believe at first, but soon realized it had significance on me and everyone around me, which could not be ignored or underestimated. The Eskimos call the subject of my story Bushman. The Colville Indians of upstate Washington call him Sasquatch. The Hoopows of Northern California call him Oma. But right now, let's just call him Bigfoot. I've spent all my life in areas like this, as close to the animals as a man can get. I built my home here. Bear Ranch. Of course, I'm prejudiced, but I think it's just about the prettiest place I've ever seen. Then there's Peggy. She's a rare woman. She's the only woman I know who'd put up with the animals I used to bring home, like those coyote pups, and raise them just like they were her own. We've shared more ups and downs than there are in the high Sierras. Those were good days. Simple, clear cut. You see, I'm a tracker. And believe me, I'm the last of a vanishing breed. I know tracks, like the FBI knows fingerprints. I specialized in renegades, killers of livestock, and sometimes people. I didn't kill for sport. I went after the right animals so innocent ones might be spared. I learned trapping from my dad's shoulders back in Illinois. Since that time, I've worked for the government, territory, sheriff's office, federal game warden. When they had a renegade, they knew who to call. There was a time me and the dogs got called up all the way to Kodiak, Alaska. There'd been reports that bear had been killing the cattle. Now I know bear, and the Kodiak happens to be one of the most beautiful on God's earth. Takes a lot of grub to feed him. 9 feet tall, up to a ton in weight. No need for him to be killing cattle, though. He's as fine a fisherman as you'll ever see. The ranchers were getting $5,000 bounties on these so-called cow killers. So I moved in to set things straight. I met a rancher who said it ain't Kodiak killing my cattle. I'd finally found someone I could talk to. He said, Bigfoot. Straight-faced as could be. He said Bigfoot's been killing my cattle. Bigfoot? I checked the carcass and saw the cow had died naturally. The bears just fed on its remains. Found out after the grass was waterlogged. Not enough protein. Cattle died of malnutrition. Kodiak? Bigfoot? People always want their questions answered in such neatly wrapped little packages. Oh, I'd heard about Bigfoot. Some abominable snowman who'd wandered across the Bering Strait before the Ice Age. I couldn't believe a grown man would tell me a Bigfoot was killing. What a bunch of hogwash. I didn't mind at all putting distance between me and those crazies in Alaska. And it felt good to be with some sensible folks like Peggy's brother. And Arizona University wanted us to track down a javelina hog for research. It's a small critter, but vicious. Well, I told my brother-in-law about the wild Bigfoot story at Kodiak, but he didn't respond as I'd expected. He said, "Don't be so quick to make judgments. There's something I want you to see." He took me to what Indians called the land of petrified wood. There, carved in rock, were drawings of a creature with big hands and big feet, exactly as I had heard Bigfoot described. The drawings were 700 years old. They told how creatures the Indians called stickman had come in the night and stolen the Indian children. The Indians abandoned the village in fear. First the ranchers, now my brother-in-law. My head was reeling with Bigfoot. But stories are just so many words. So I soon forgot about them, till I was up tracking a mountain lion. And I found these tracks. Now, they look much like human footprints, but they were 18 inches long, 6.5 across the ball of the foot, 5.5 at the heel. They were the hugest I'd ever seen. The tracks were so deep, they had to have been made by at least a 500-pound animal. And the hair, I couldn't identify it. The toe prints were spread around small rocks and dug into the earth, showing whatever made them could cover pretty rugged country. And the stride was enormous, 52 inches in length. Man's only 30. They were fakes. Somebody would have had to drag a pretty big machine over pretty rough country to make them, and they would have left their own tracks. I saw where a creature had stumbled. There was a handprint, but no sign of claws. They were so manlike. I was mystified, so I made plaster casts and sent them with the hair to a lab for analysis. Well, I tell you, I was glad to get home. Our pups were growing, and they didn't give us much time to think about everything that had happened. I was called to chase a renegade bear up north. This time, I wasn't so eager to return to the mountains. Tests had shown the hair samples and tracks couldn't be matched with any known animal. I was uncomfortable. The animals were even acting strange. I soon found out why. I found the bear I was looking for, but not in the condition I expected. Another track, just as I'd seen on the mountain. its teeth. The hair. I was astounded. A 600-pound bear that had stood 8 feet tall, lying by the side of the creek with its neck broken. Now, I wanted to find out everything I could about Bigfoot. I advertised for any information or leads. You can't believe the number of stories people had to tell. My friends laughed at them all. Okay, I'd laugh too. But things were different now. I had to figure out what was fact and what was fiction. There are reports of creatures 12 feet tall, 800 pounds, that prowled on 2 feet. Now that's absurd, scientifically impossible. No creature that size or weight could even stand upright.
This movie is starting out great.
It is.
It's like a documentary. I like the style. It's taking the subject of Bigfoot so seriously. I love it.
It is. It's innovative. Like, I would think that this was a real thing if I didn't know better.
Yeah, you would think, like, totally, you'll think that, oh, you know, they're actually looking for Bigfoot.
Yes.
But speaking of actually looking for Bigfoot, we did actually look for Bigfoot, and we're going to show you the start of that, where we were starting out looking for Bigfoot, and Morgan kind of
Everything started out great, and then I don't know what happened. I saw a butterfly, and I got really excited.
She did find some cool stuff, so you will see that we both kind of...
We had adventures.
We had adventures, and it was really fun. Took us some different places.
A lot of different places.
And I realized that I cannot camp by myself.
Just keep watching these footages of our adventures. I was able to document mine as Celeste was able to document hers, and oh yeah.
Yeah, join in this fun. So we're going to put you into this little Bigfoot hunting adventure, and then we're going straight back into Legend of Bigfoot. Morgan and I are out looking for Bigfoot, and speaking of Morgan, she was just here a minute ago. I'm not sure where she is, but we've been driving around the countryside checking all these small towns, and we thought maybe had Bigfoot, and I think we finally found the right place because there are signs that there are Bigfoot in the area, also known as Oma or Sasquatch, Yetis. There's many names. So we're gonna check further down the road. We're gonna explore this area, maybe talk to some locals and see if we can find us a Bigfoot.
Good afternoon, everybody. I have found quite the interesting place on my list here of going around the UP. I am at the Iron County Museum. This is actually an old mining site. It's the Caspian mining site. And as you can see around me, they have a lot of old mining equipment. Behind me is, I believe this is shaft number 1. And this was used to bring the iron ore to the surface. But on June 17th, 1937, at around 3:25 p.m., mine shaft number 2 sunk. It sunk. There was, the ground opened up, it fell into a pit, and they lost that one. This one only settled a couple inches, and there is one more mine shaft. It's also a wooden one. That was mine shaft number 3, and I believe mine shaft number 3 was the one that was used to take people down. Nobody died, thankfully. There were 2 other major mining disasters here in the state of Michigan, and that was the Mansfield mine disaster, and there was another one, which I will get you the name of that one at some point. I'm going to do a whole write-up on this, so look for my blog on this, and we're going to explore the Iron County Museum. But here is the remaining mine shaft. Here we go.
I here trying to set up a tent. Morgan bailed on me. She was like, oh, camping would be so fun. And then she ran off. I don't know, she went in the woods or something. I don't know how to set up a tent. I think it goes this way. Let's see. Yeah, that should work. Okay, now where's the door? We need a door. Here's the door. I think it'd be helpful if we had another system. Pretty sure you just do this. And then I just gonna go in and push it up from the inside. Morgan, where are you? Morgan, it's a tent.
And as for tracks, you can't imagine the number of kids I found running around the woods making plywood fakes. Tales of hunters being ripped apart, campers kidnapped and never heard of again. But 4 features, all the reports shared, were the dark hair, the domed head, the large footprints, and the glowing red eyes. Nature's my home. How could some missing link be wandering around up here without me knowing it? It was good to get back in the mountains and visit a couple of my pets. I tried not to think about Bigfoot, but it was tough to shake. It wasn't 2 minutes before my friend had vanished in the wood. Well, I set out after him, but I couldn't find him anyplace. I came to a bridge, and there beside it, another track. Fresh. My legs were moving before I realized what I was doing. I couldn't believe what I'd seen. I had to get a closer look. Nauseating, musky odor made it difficult to breathe. But I had to find out what I'd seen. It was getting dark. Time was growing short. Bigfoot. What the hell was I doing? was here alone, without a rifle, without anyone knowing where to find me. With a 500-pound, 8-foot-tall, vicious creature. I had to get out of here, get some help. I had to show people what I'd seen. The footprints. It was just the cat. I'd never been so scared in my life. But my friends couldn't laugh now. Wait till they saw the tracks. But the rains came and washed the tracks away.
Hurry, hurry, get your Bigfoot burger, 2 burgers.
Now, people's attitudes towards Bigfoot made me mad. I'd seen it. Matter of fact, I felt I'd been singled out to find it. Where do you begin? Jackson Hole, Wyoming. A suspicious set of tracks. I really thought I was onto something. Over 500 on the side of a mountain. The tracks are funny things. The smallest print can melt, freeze, get snowed over. And before you know it, it's gigantic. Here, the supposed Bigfoot was a little old coyote. The redwoods, an endless source of sightings. If this creature were here, where did it hide? I searched in the caves formed by the roots of the ancient trees. Here were perfect shelters, large, dark, secluded, hideaways to recover from injuries. Refuge for many forest animals from the elements. Protected privacy when giving birth. Hundreds of tree caves, but no tracks, bones, or unusual droppings. No clues at all. I had to be wasting my time. But there was a statue carved in redwood. Its image was based on hundreds of sightings collected over the years. And it was exactly like the creature I had seen myself. Oregon coast. Reports of Bigfoot feeding during the run of the nightfish. The shore was secluded. Food was plentiful. It seemed a perfect place for the secretive Bigfoot. So I waited. You don't know what it is to wait till you've been a tracker. Finally, a gull came with the first sign of the run. And right behind it, you've never seen so many fishermen. My secluded beach turned into Coney Island. Only way Bigfoot could show up here was wearing swimming trunks. One bum steer after another. How was I supposed to know which lead to follow? I was running out of time, and I was running out of money. As we left, I felt like the waves were laughing at our backs. Then came our hottest tip yet. We couldn't turn it down. Snowbird warned us of an upcoming storm, but I was too excited and ignored it. The area was rich with wildlife. And why not Bigfoot? Plenty of food, plenty of cover. This time, remote from man. There it was. My efforts had paid off. And this time, I was ready for it. I wasn't ready to find out it was just a bear staying up past its winter bedtime. What was happening to me? Any Boy Scout knows how people's eyes play tricks on them in the woods. I was like a gun-happy hunter that makes a 10-foot grizz out of a charred old tree stump. Even the snowbird was laughing. And why shouldn't it? Here I was, a grown man running around the woods chasing some fairy tale. I felt like a fool. Well, I was out of patience, and I was out of money. So I took a job up in the wilderness around Bossburg, Washington. Had to photograph a cinnamon bear in its natural habitat. You want a bear? Here's a bear. Piece of cake. I always got what I said after. Except Bigfoot. Then I saw it. A deformed version of the track I'd seen so often. There it was. Finally, face to face with Bigfoot. Here was the domed head, just as others had described it. Thick, dark fur to protect it from extremes of weather and allow it to pass unnoticed in the night. I saw it, photographed it, but scientists challenged my film. Yet it stood up under every conceivable test. Some revealed rugged terrain as the cause of the skinned heels, polio as the cause of the limp. But my documented evidence wasn't good enough for the experts. Experts who still asked, how could such a creature survive? Where does it live? Show us its remains. What does it eat? Experts who challenged my word but claimed credit for my film and profited by it on lecture circuits. Well, I didn't care for these people. But I was haunted by their questions.
Oh, this is...
Like Patterson Gimlin footage from 1967.
Wow. Maureen, did you know that a few years ago they actually did some testing on some bones that were thought to have come from Yetis?
Did they really?
Yeah, it turns out they were just like black bears and grizzly bears. Maybe a dog, something.
That's a bummer. So this footage, though, I know people have like tried to pick it apart and debunk it for many years now. But I'm one of those ones that I believe this to be real footage.
That walk.
Yeah.
Off the horse and took my rifle out.
And just so nonchalantly when he turns and looks and keeps going. This was about 18 miles south of the Oregon border in a logging camp. And if they've lived in the forest for many years and now you've got a logging camp coming in there, like, he's probably mad. Like,
Right.
what are you doing?
Up outside up that canyon.
It's astounding. And
Yeah, and it's really fun to investigate.
it is. It really is. There's a lot of Bigfoot evidence when you're looking for it, more so than what people
Right.
think. It's just something.
You know, there is a lot of stuff I did not know about hunting Bigfoot
Yes.
until I watched this movie.
Really?
And it really did help in my search for Bigfoot.
Oh, good.
You know why I call it my search for Bigfoot?
Why, Celeste?
Because you weren't there.
I know.
We went camping. She did finally come when I had the tent set up, which I propped up with sticks, and it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And it let all the bugs in because I forgot that there was a zipper.
Yep.
And she showed me the zipper. But anyway, we did end up camping out there for a while and doing some searching, and then, well,
I got distracted again.
again. But I did find some interesting evidence, and you're going to see that in a minute. So there was some really cool stuff that we found out about Bigfoot and how they live in the area.
Yes.
And their routines. I studied a lot of stuff in the area to learn about this enigmatic creature.
They don't wipe when they go potty, by the way.
Right.
They air dry their butts.
Yes, we know this because she is our resident scat expert, and she
That too.
examined it.
But when I wandered off, I saw things. Terrible things.
Yeah, we don't talk about those things. She told me once, but it was scary.
There's more things now.
More things?
More things.
You guys are going to enjoy learning a lot more factual stuff about the actual Bigfoot. Hi, my name is Celeste. I'm here with a local of this area, and we are looking for Bigfoot. So, is Bigfoot in this area? Have there been any sightings of Bigfoot in this area?
Yeah, I think I've seen them.
You've seen him, really. I was thinking of checking the woods back there. I've heard that there might be a Bigfoot there.
I think I've seen him running back there.
Oh, he runs. Is it kind of a run or like a lope, or what should I look for?
A jump.
Jump. He jumped like a leaping.
Yep,
Leaping
leaping.
Bigfoot. Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time. I'm gonna go check right now.
No problem.
Hello, this is Celeste from Hexen Arcane. I am out here in these woods looking for Bigfoot. And Morgan was right here with me, but unfortunately we got separated, so I'm also looking for Morgan. However, I wanted to show you guys something really cool. On this search, look, you see these log here and this overgrowth of thorny plants. This is not a natural overgrowth. If you didn't know, this is actually a Bigfoot boma. So this is the actual location where Bigfoot goes to sleep at night, at least one. It looks a little deserted now. So this overgrowth, it's kind of shaped by the Bigfoot into a natural cave sort of structure. And it looks a little bit deserted. I don't see any droppings. I don't see any footprints going in here, but this is where Bigfoot used to sleep. So I have a feeling we're getting close.
What an experience. Now I had to start finding some answers. The creature's tracks disappeared at the edge of a beaver swamp. Only sign of animal life was the geese migrating north for the summer. I wanted the satisfaction of bringing back unchallengeable proof. Still, where to begin? I found several other creatures had passed through the area, all heading north. Could Bigfoot be a migratory animal. I plotted all the reliable reports. There actually seemed to be a migratory pattern extended over thousands of miles. If this were true, I'd have some means of predicting the creature's movements and a good chance to find some answers to my questions. Bigfoot always stayed in very rocky mountains and isolated terrain. The greatest number of sightings, and the only ones of the Bigfoot young, were in summer, above the Arctic Circle. Could that be where Bigfoot migrated to breed? If I move rapidly, I might find a clue before season's end. Peg and I took our camera and planned to document every step we took. The lava beds, Modoc, California. If Bigfoot were a migratory animal, my theory had to hold up all along the way. A track, centuries old, preserved in the lava. My theory was working. But I wondered how Bigfoot survived the violent eruptions that brought the lava rock. As usual, nature provided me clues. I saw these two little ground squirrels so much in love they took no notice of me or the dangers around them. the male's natural instincts drove him to cover. These same instincts started up in the wounded squirrel. Nature was reminding me of her basic law, survival. This same will to survive must have somehow kept Bigfoot going throughout all these years. But where did the creature go if it were injured? The caves, Mount Lassen. The Hat Creek Indians believed they were inhabited by an evil ape man. Now I was hot. Every step along the way brought me new clues. It was too late in the season to find the creature here now. But I'd soon catch up with him above the Arctic Circle. Peg and I found the people up north different. They encouraged me, took my search seriously. Like the lumberjacks, mountain men, like myself. The first into the midst of the wilderness, which meant first with stories of Bigfoot. Most of their sightings came at the time of year I'd anticipated. They were sure when Bigfoot passed because strange happenings followed in a nearby valley. Herds of goats come and perform a ritual suicide. Sure enough, the goats were there, looking as if they were grazing normally, but actually eating pounds of dirt. With one gulp of water, the earth turns to cement, and they die, lying in the shadow of Bigfoot, etched in rock 26 feet high, and the wolf, his only known traveling companion. What went on in this valley Bigfoot passed through went against all the natural laws of survival. And the rock formations, too massive to have been shaped by man, presented another, totally unexplainable, natural phenomena.
Well, this movie is a lot of fun.
Yes.
Except for when squirrels get hit by cars. That made me sad.
Oh, that was terrible.
In my notes, I drew a frowny face.
I don't blame you.
I was really sad about that, but I'm happy that it ended up being okay.
Yeah, I thought it was so, like,
But
it dragged him off the road.
what confused me was that it didn't seem to fit. It was just like, it seemed like the people who made the film were like, oh, I have some footage of a squirrel. I'm going to find some reason to use it. Instead of like it actually fitting into the story, because the way it fit in was pretty weird. It was like, oh, from that I learned the law of survival. Okay.
Yeah.
That was kind of like a long, 5 minutes of squirrels romping together to come to that conclusion.
It's like one of those documentaries you see
Yeah, it
about
was,
animals. I mean, they're good, but
yeah, it just took a little turn there for a while.
Squirrel.
Got a little off track, and I was like, alrighty then.
I love squirrels, though.
Yes.
Our
Me and the
squirrel
squirrel are
circus.
friends.
Oh, good. Good. They like our corn cobs
Hi,
that we put out for them. Squirrel.
Girl. The squirrels were cute.
Yes.
And
We learned something important.
yes, we did. We learned that Bigfoot is,
Migratory.
and that
Likes
is
to
something
walk.
that I could have known, but I'm going to teach you a little bit more in the next clips about Bigfoot. This is about the Wisconsin Bigfoot. I don't know if there are other ones, but this does happen in Wisconsin. So check out all this info about Bigfoot. Alright, now if you can look here at my feet, you'll see these branches that are all knocked on the trail. This is, whoop, tree got me there. This is a classic sign of Bigfoot's temper tantrums. This is recent, it has been undisturbed. I have a feeling we are not far from Bigfoot.
Alright, what you guys see here is deforestation. This is the natural enemy of the Sasquatch, or Oma, Bigfoot, whatever name you want to call it. Clear cutting these woods kills Sasquatch's natural habitat, and we end up with a lot more urban Bigfoot sightings as they attempt to find a new home. So, this is actually really sad. Right, if you can see, this mushroom is one of the natural foods of Bigfoot. Now it's untouched, which means he hasn't been around here recently. But if these mushrooms are here, Bigfoot's here.
Oh, hi, I'm Ron Pertee, and you're watching Hexen Arcane. I'm going back to bed.
To those who cried, for Bigfoot to exist goes against every bit of scientific data known to man, I could now say how much more there is to know. I felt close to the adventurers who'd left their calling cards at Watson Lake as they crossed into the Yukon, and even closer to those who'd made a similar journey at the turn of the century, who set out after something they didn't know where to find, but knew was out there someplace. With so many pouring into the Yukon during the gold rush, it's no surprise there'd be such a rich source of stories about Bigfoot. For the first time in my life, I understood what made people like that tick. It's more than gold. I guess we all need a frontier to explore. Don't necessarily have to go off into it. Just makes you feel kinda good knowing it's there. Thousands of these people came from everywhere. Tent cities sprung up where no man had ever even walked. If Bigfoot came here to keep clear of man, its seclusion didn't last for long. Such a rich source of information had to bring new leads. Sure enough, an old miner's story told how the glaciers up there were the burial grounds of the Bigfoot. That would explain why there were no remains. The creatures carried their dead over thousands of miles just to deposit them in crevices that open up in the spring thaw. Can you imagine? I went there searching for some remains. I did find tracks, so I had to be close. I found bones that told many different stories, but none of Bigfoot. The constant movement of the glaciers could either crush the remains or wash them to the sea. Burial grounds of the Bigfoot. I thought of the people who were the source of these stories. Their friends called them crazy, and some of them might have been. But you wouldn't believe the extremes they went to for their fortunes, romance, and the unexplored. I guess it wasn't so tough to believe Bigfoot could have gone to similar extremes for a far more instinctive, basic drive, as burying his dead. So many questions. Well, I sure understood what drove those miners as they sailed up the river in pursuit of gold. For I'd soon ride the same river in pursuit of Bigfoot. The miners were gone now, but I knew Bigfoot had to still be around. The frequency of current sightings meant he'd somehow survive the diseases the white man brought into the wilds. The tuberculosis, measles, that wiped out whole tribes of Indians and Eskimos. He'd even survived the violence reaching out from the boomtowns. Now I understood why Bigfoot steered clear of man. He had to, in order to survive. However vicious the creature might be, I gained a lot of respect for the elusive Bigfoot and its ability to endure. But if we were to find it, we'd have to get to the furthest outpost of civilization. When we ran out of road, we saw the remnants of the old pioneers giving way to the machinery of the new. Thousands were now pouring back up to the new gold rush for the black gold, oil. How much longer could Bigfoot avoid all these people? Where would he go next? I gambled on him heading north. Well, traveling had been tough, so we treated ourselves to the fanciest hotel in town. There, Yukon Frida. Her sketches were based on recent sightings and descriptions of Bigfoot from that very area. As we started our journey up the river, I thought of the statues and drawings I'd seen in Arizona, California, Oregon, Washington, British Columbia, the Yukon, and now above the Arctic Circle. All of them resembling the very creature I saw myself. They were too similar, over too vast an area to be coincidental. But these images weren't good enough for the experts below. I still had a lot of questions to answer. There were no grocery stores up here, so we ate off the land or purchased fish from the Eskimos. I knew I could get my answers from these people, because stories of Bigfoot were as plentiful as the food. One man told of the strange day his mother died. In a cabin like this, family and friends gathered to await the passing of her spirit. That night, they heard a soft scratch at the door. There was Bigfoot, chanting in a strange tongue. Everyone was terrified. The spirit of his mother was speaking through the voice of Bigfoot. They must abandon their homes, which they did. The next day, an ice floe changed the river, and waters now flow where the village once stood. I asked to see this area, hoping for a sign of Bigfoot. The man said, if you wish to see the king of the animals, he breeds in the mating grounds of the Alaskan moose. The moose came as if a sign, reaffirming the man's words. Up the river by a salmon wheel, a lone Eskimo greeted us with the words, Bigfoot is not here. How did he know what we were after? He told a tale about a trapper who killed a creature in the early 40s, bringing the wrath of Bigfoot down upon his people. He said, one night I was caught out on the trail with only a few minutes of twilight left. The lights began to shine in the sky. They were bright. Traveling was good. Then the snow turned red. To the north, south, east, and west, rivers of blood flowed across the sky and down into the snows. It seemed to be the last day of the world. Bigfoot was punishing us for bringing it sorrow. But then, the good white light rose from the north. What followed was a battle of 1,000 warriors. The white light was the spirit of Bigfoot, left to die by the trapper. It returned in the form of a white raven to protect us from the red wrath of its grieving brothers. If you travel the river, you may see him. And if you do, he will bring you luck. Then the native gasped, pointing to a bird soaring above us. The legendary white raven. The fisherman said, Bigfoot smiles upon you. You will bring word of him to the people below.
What is with this
Mating of the moose.
Yeah, okay, we're gonna start with the mating of the moose. I don't want to go anywhere near mating moose.
Neither do I. They will mow down cars. Have you seen those things when they get mad?
I can't imagine the noises.
I haven't even thought that. I just think of oh man.
So
Never mind, you don't want to. No.
this guy is way braver than me because he is willing to go to the mating grounds of the moose to find Sasquatch.
Yes.
I would not.
No. And then there's a white light.
There, snow turns red, and there's white lights, and it turns into
a white raven.
Raven.
Is it white or black for the raven? I can't remember.
White.
It is white.
Something,
okay.
and this was the spirit of Bigfoot. That I was so confused at this part. This is where the 70s part really came into play.
Gotta love the 70s.
So I was like, I know this is like documentary style, but I'm so confused right now, and it feels like another point where they had some really interesting footage, and they're like, let's come up with a story behind it.
Spirit of the Squatch.
And then they ate some magic mushrooms, and they came up with a story.
And everybody went la 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 la. And then they puked, and it was good.
It was like minutes of swirling storm things, spirit of Bigfoot,
white raven,
confusion,
squirrel love, mating mooses. We got it all in here. And by the way, slug bug, no slug backs.
She got me. And speaking of got me, this is the part where our trip went horribly wrong, and we are going to show you about that.
I'd say way south, but
yeah. All right, just watch it.
Yeah.
Morgan?
I'm out here looking for evidence of Bigfoot, but unfortunately I've also lost Celeste. Celeste!
Morgan, where are you?
Celeste!
Morgan!
I don't even know where I'm at.
Morgan!
I think she went this way. I'm gonna
it's
go
Celeste! Hello! Morgan? She's gone. She's lost. I don't know where she is.
My mind was reeling. At the next village, the natives were waiting for us. They had heard about the White Raven and wanted to show us their secret, sacred figure. Here it was again. They told us how Bigfoot was their friend. Their friend? How did they think such a violent creature could be their friend? They told how Bigfoot always carried the bodies of men killed or lost in the Arctic winter to the edge of the nearest village to be buried by their own kind. When I asked where I could make contact with their friend, they said, in the land of shining eyes. But they warned me not to violate Bigfoot's domain. I reminded them of the White Raven, so they taught me a chant to sing on the night of the full moon and promised I would see the glowing eyes of Bigfoot. Well, I wasn't going to have a thing to do with any chanting. So I set up walkie-talkies 300 yards from the tent to monitor any movements on the tundra during the night. At the first sound, I'd have a jump on the creature. Then the wait. The land was lush with vegetation. Perfect feeding ground. Berries, lichen, gnats, bugs, millions of fish. Not just a land of ice and snow. I understood why Bigfoot and so many animals flocked to the Arctic to breed and raise their young. But this land was strangely silent. Where were the animals? My transmitter had been thrown 15 feet. And the tundra held no tracks. Days passed. I felt like a fool, but now I'd go to any ends to conjure up the creature. Soon Peg saw what she thought were two car lights approaching. I was caught in the darkness, but Peg guided me toward the lights. I had to find out what it was. Then we realized they were the shining eyes. This time, I couldn't let Bigfoot escape. But dawn broke, and it disappeared behind a rainbow. This was too much. I felt like I was coming apart at the seams. Here I was, an experienced mountain man all my life, acting like a spooked tenderfoot. I still had 1,000 questions, and so few answers. I couldn't concentrate. My head was spinning with tall tales and folklore. I no longer knew what to believe. I had to get away from the others and be by myself. There were the salmon, back after 10 years of living in the sea, to spawn in the exact place of their birth, and then to die. They reminded me of those I'd seen at Kodiak in the days when I was a pure tracker, stuck to nature's signs and wasn't so confused with all the legends and stories of man. And there were geese. My first clue to Bigfoot's migratory pattern. I began to feel close to nature again. I knew that's where I'd find the answers to my questions. And the caribou, touching velvet off their antlers, release swamp gas from the tundra to glow in the night. Then I saw what must have been the monarch of the North. I was terrified. It could crush the likes of me with one swoop. But it was the most magnificent animal I think I've ever seen. He didn't seem to notice me as he made a clearing. He sharpened his horns as if to prepare for combat. I thought he'd come for me now. Instead, he dug a pit. and marked it with his scent. This attracted cows from all over the area and seemed to warn other bulls to keep away. The cows declared themselves his by covering themselves with his scent. I'd made it. The mating grounds of the Alaskan moose, where no man had ever been before, and possibly the breeding grounds of Bigfoot. Some young bulls seemed a little overeager and found the monarch defending his territory against all intruders, while others waited for the right moment to move in. Then he saw me. But luckily, a match for the monarch challenged him for his cows and territory. Those who'd waited now moved in. While the bulls were fighting, nature made sure there'd be a good crop of calves come spring. Finally, the monarch triumphed. Now, too preoccupied to give any notice to me, he gathered his cows. And according to the law of nature, the strongest began to breed. I was deeply moved by what I'd seen, but still, no sign of Bigfoot. The salmon lay dying in the streams, signaling the end of the breeding season. Time was running out, so we took to the air. The Arctic winter could close us in at any moment, so we had to move fast. Why couldn't I find this creature? Was my theory wrong? When I saw the expanse of space below, I laughed. Anything could be out there. They'd found
Can we please agree, as a species, to never utter the phrase mating grounds of Alaskan moose ever again? Please? No.
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 That has me dead.
Yep. Yep. But
Something actually really incredible
It
happened
did.
on this journey.
super incredible. And I don't want to tell you because I didn't get to see it.
But
Let's
you are
listen.
guys, yes, you're going to see. We found what we were looking for. We are going to show it to you right now.
And I missed
And
it.
also, what ended up happening to Morgan. So if you want to see the continuation of our wacky adventure, stay tuned right now. All right. I heard something back there down the trail. Oh. I see something, you guys. I see something. Did you see that? I was looking at him. He was looking at me. I can't believe we found this and Morgan wasn't here.
Yes! I don't know. But I am one with nature. I live here now. Forest is my home. Slash, help me. There's a pack of wolves again, and they want to make me their own. Oh, there's a road.
They'd found Stone Age men in New Zealand. There were prehistoric fish being pulled out of the Persian Sea. My God, a primitive man walked out of the mountains 70 miles from the capital of California. There's so much territory yet to be explored. We found undiscovered wrecks of men who tried to break into this wilderness and were never heard of again. I couldn't think of the risks. Everything I believed in was on the line. Suddenly, the pilot whipped around. There he was, a young Bigfoot, frozen like a tree. We raced back to the river, but he slipped away. Seeing the young Bigfoot confirmed my theory. I could now roughly predict the creature's movements. The crew celebrated the sighting, but it wasn't enough for me. I knew I needed to document Bigfoot's habits. The young Bigfoot's tracks led me from the river to a lush meadow. He'd passed through a herd of grazing muskox. I wondered what Bigfoot fed on. Maybe he ate vegetation too. Or fish. I'd seen him by a river. Of course, he could have been cleaning himself. Or drinking. Of course, he could be a predator. One of these oxen had lasted him half the winter. Bigfoot's behavior still held many mysteries. But now it was just a matter of time before I solved them. Winter now closed down on us in earnest. We were forced to move south, just like the animals. The caribou gathered for their migration. They'd be the source of food for all the meat-eating animals that followed. If Bigfoot were a meat-eater, he'd feed on caribou too. If I could prove that he did, I'd have a clue to the place he held in nature. If I could film it, I'd have the kind of documentation the experts demanded. Whatever his habits, I knew the road would be paved with danger. devastated by the slaughter of the caribou. I kept thinking of Bigfoot and its migration. It had to be protected. It could be wiped out before I had a chance to study it. But how could I get protection for something so few believed existed? I needed that unchallengeable proof I'd first set out for. There was no sign of Bigfoot with the caribou. It must eat vegetation or fish. The perfect place. Beaver Swamp in the spring. I got there early and planned to stay as long as I could. I used every trick I learned over my years as a trapper and carefully covered my scent with ammonia. Beaver Swamp. The geese. If my theory was right, Bigfoot would follow shortly. I searched for the perfect place to set up a blind. When I found it, I moved in and set up my cameras. Day after day, I waited and soon grew jealous of the other animals' freedom. I was stiff, chilled to the bone, but I was determined not to make a move that might warn Bigfoot of my presence. What if he didn't come? Then a movement in the woods. The sun hadn't come up yet. It was hard to make out what I'd seen at first. There he was. Bigfoot, standing no more than 100 yards from my blind. I began to shake all over. I could barely keep hold of my camera. He was awesome. Then, behind me, another one. Smaller, possibly younger. How many of them were there? Was I surrounded? They were the most extraordinary creatures I'd ever seen. I now knew why the Eskimos called Bigfoot the king of the animals. The older, larger one was 7 feet tall, 450 to 500 pounds. His domed head and long dark hair, just like the other creatures I'd seen. His odor was overwhelming. The same thick, musky scent that first led me to Bigfoot so long ago. The young one was no more than 5.5 feet tall, 250 pounds. If my guess was right, probably on its first trip away from its northern breeding grounds. He'd probably never seen a man before. If he saw me, he could panic and attack. Then I looked around and realized the other animals were carrying on normally. If danger was around, they would have fled. Just as the Eskimos had said, Bigfoot is a benevolent creature. It doesn't even attack or feed on other animals. It seems to eat only vegetation or sometimes fish. Here it was before me, pulling up the tender swamp grass with its hands. Remarkable huge hands that seem capable of grasping, scooping up drinking water, and splashing to rid itself of parasites. I'd done it. Here I was again with Bigfoot. Unchallengeable proof my theory had worked. It is a migratory animal, and I now have the documentation of its habits I needed. Now we can begin to understand the place this creature holds in nature. A raccoon came out to start his day's hunting. I knew the nocturnal Bigfoot would soon return to the cover of the forest. I once again said goodbye to this mysterious creature that has somehow outlived its natural role, endured the tests of time, now left to wander the land elusively with a strange will to survive. I still have plenty of questions, and I'll continue my search for the answers now. But I assure you, I'll no longer get so caught up in the problems of my research that I'll lose touch with the wonders it reveals.
So,
There you have it.
I miraculously ended up almost 300 miles away.
In the UP. What happened? I mean, how did you get home? I know
Okay, so
I had to pick up the tent by myself, but
I am so sorry. I wandered down that road for about 15 more miles, and I ended up in a little town called Iron River. and I met a very wonderful 93-year-old woman named Jane. She is an authentic Youper. She was born and raised there, and she actually lives across the street from where she was born. But she fed me pasties and like gave me this Afghan and a house plant, and then she let me drive her Buick all the way back down by Celeste. I have to figure out how I'm going to get that back to her.
I wondered where that car came from, and it smelled a little bit like pasties.
It did. Oh, they were so good. They were so good.
And I really enjoyed showing this movie.
Yes.
I think it was wonderful. I liked the ending. It was sort of a, nature is wonderful theme to it, but I liked it.
Yes. It was majestic.
And now we have to intro a wonderful short that we were really excited to show.
It's called The Frying Saucer.
Yes, and it was written and directed by my very good friends, Clara Llewellyn and Christopher Kaler.
Yes.
And I love these guys. They're very creative. They're always working on something cool and fun. Claire has some very good books that you can find on Amazon. So make sure to look them up. They're great people.
You're going to like this one, everybody.
This is
good.
Fun. So we're going from Bigfoot to
aliens.
What better transition could there possibly be?
None.
So you guys, we are going to say goodnight to you. And thanks for joining us this week on Hexen Arcane. And please enjoy this wonderful short film.
And what are we going to do, Celeste?
Hex you soon.
Stupid phone. Why does it always seem to get jacked up whenever you're around?
And good morning to you too, dear. I don't know. Must be my magnetic personality.
Well, you certainly swept me off my feet last week. What say we spend our first week anniversary naked under the stars?
Well, that sounds wonderful, dear. But I have to work late tonight. Top secret mission of the utmost importance. I'll make it up to you, dear, and it'll be out of this world. So far, the implementation of Operation Frying Pan has been a success, due in large part to the ingenious advertising campaign of Miss Grenier. As you know, our technology and materials are far superior, creating the perfect conditions for lower fat, fried deliciousness. I can see Chief Bullock here can't get enough.
People really know how to fry food. It's like nectar from the gods.
Quite. You can see by that demonstration, once the public gets their hands on this, they'll be eating out of ours.
Al, what are you doing to this bacon?
Why? What's wrong with it?
It's good. It's not like your usual crap.
Wait, really? You see? Wife's watching TV, right? She sees this commercial for this new frying pan. She feels compelled to buy it, and so she goes ahead and gets one, right? She cooks me up some bacon at home with it, and it's amazing. I can't stop eating. I'm addicted to it. It's like a whore's milk to a crack baby. So I figure, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll get this for the restaurant, try it on some of my customers. You know, cha-ching.
I'll have another one.
All right.
And I bet you thought that nothing could make bacon any better, right? Wrong. This baby cooks it in its natural fat, seals in all the flavor, and it's healthier too. And if you order, you'll get my new book.
Call now to get the special TV offer. We'll ship your order for free. We must call within the next 10 minutes.
It's the only way to fry.
Hello?
Saw the commercial! Your husband's!
Oh, hi, Norma.
He got rosy cheeks!
Yeah, isn't it great? Hang on a minute, I just need to answer my cell phone.
Rosy cheeks! Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, girlfriend, you're gonna pay!
Hello, hi. Didn't know you were such a fan.
Oh my god, girl, I'm so ordering one or more. You hit jackpot with Mr. Loverboy.
Hello? Hello? Oh, I'm ordering!
Out of this world. Out of this world. Out of this world. Out of this world. Out of this world.
Thank you, y'all! My book is selling like hotcakes, along with the super pan, of course. Now, I've got book signings up my wazoo! And my little indiscretions history.
You're welcome, Miss Cheeks. Your service has been rewarded as promised. Now, Miss Grenier here will handle your book tour to maximize our sales. And should you have any further legal problems, Miss Glock here will take care of them.
Elliot, I just gotta know, what's in that pan that makes everything taste so good?
I think Miss Cheeks and I should go discuss her book tour in conference room 2.
Like butter. I heard that somewhere. To further infiltrate the consumer market and harness the power of the dominant female homemaker, I've taken a wife. I chose an easy target, a relatively quick and painless union. No local family ties, but popular with her kind, and desperate to breed. The social influence these females have over their peer group is instrumental to our success.
Oh, I know, Jane. Isn't awful. Yes, well, give little Jimmy a kiss from me, and thank you for ordering. But, Elliot will be so pleased with all the support today. Yeah. Well, okay. See you next Tuesday. Bye. was just about to make a cup of tea.
How's things with you? Thought I'd just give you a quick ring as I haven't spoken to you for a few days.
You know, still settling into the new house, but things are good.
Are you sure he's the right one this time? I mean, who gets married just on their first date when they've only known them a week? Was he that good, or are you in trouble?
I wouldn't know exactly. We haven't yet. I'm not in trouble. Yes, I'm really in love this time.
Well, you said you were in love with all the others, pretty quickly as I remember.
And you didn't like any of them?
Well, we thought Bobby was okay, a bit dim.
He was married to his job. Being a copper's wife's not for me. Anyway, Elliot's got a great job. His frying pan sales are going through the roof.
Perhaps you can afford to give us grandchildren now, before you're too old.
Just stop, okay? He's been working hard on his sales campaign.
I think you need a honeymoon to make babies. What are you doing tonight then?
I'm just going to relax with a bottle of red that's been opened and watch some old movies till he gets home.
If you have a bottle of wine open too long, it can turn bad and it can make you sick. Right, well, we're going to bed now. Love you. Speak to you soon.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.
So, tonight's the night then.
Honey, I'm home.
Elliot! Is that you? Elliot.
It's baby making time. Upload complete. Must have been the wine. You'll feel better after a good night's sleep. Rancid. Interesting. Honey, I brought you some hangover remedy. It'll make you feel better.